Okay, everybody, settle down, settle down. It's time for a wonderful panel. Today, we're going to be exploring virtual theater, and we're going to talk with 5 distinguished professionals who have very diverse experience and can give us some insights about what it's like to host this type of theater, particularly when we have participants in different physical locations, which is quite interesting. So I'd like to introduce you to Joe. Joe will be moderating our session, and take it away.
Hello. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Yeah. So we're going to be talking about virtual theater here, which is going to be live, interactive, and immersive theater with folks in different locations in a virtual space. And we have 4 distinguished members who's going to be describing the work they've got to be done. Before we get started, though, I do want to give a shout out to the Spatial team and committee. This has been a wonderful program. I know I've enjoyed it. I hope you guys as well. So kudos to you. So with that, let's get started. Introduce the panelists here. We'll start with Steve over here. Steve is with the Ferryman Collective. Their latest work, the Emmy-nominated, did I say Emmy-nominated? Yes, I did. Uncanny Alley, A New Day, has been shown at Venice, Rain Dance, South by Southwest, and right down the block here. So if you do want to see a preview of it, go to where the lights are later on and you can see a preview. And let me show a trailer for that.
We don't have much time. The cops are most likely already looking for us. They took my mother, and they're coming for all of us. The good news is, I rerouted a government portal out of the city. Our mission is to escape so we can build a new life with our minds intact. We're gonna build our own world, away from all of this. Follow me if you wanna live. Amazing things together.
All right, our next presenter was supposed to be Yosun Chang. Now, I met Yosun, or should I say I met her alter ego, Einar Centaur, while sitting in a reconstruction of the Shakespeare Globe Theater in Second Life, which she built all on her own. She's a real pioneer in this space. Since then, she has dabbled a bit, more than a bit, with apps XR and AR. She's a regular contributor to the Happy Hour. She won the Audience Choice Awards for Real Time Live in 2000. Unfortunately, Yosun had to cancel at the last minute. But we do have a short video from here to inspire you. So why don't I play that?
Hi, this is Yosun Chang and your favorite SIGGRAPH careers. We're not able to make it a SIGGRAPH this year, so in the next 2 minutes or so, we're going to try to inspire you guys remotely.
A very long time ago, I dropped out of a triple major in physics, philosophy, bioengineering, and then founded and ran the Second Life Shakespeare Company, aka Metaverse Shakespeare, in a multi-user virtual world. Solo, on Team Sleep Nevermore, just building everything myself. It's with the same spirit that I started AI 3D Foundation 3 years ago by just being a super curious kid, exploring with HCI and intuitive methods for humans to co-create with AI. One creator tool I built for XR Theater this year is real-time 3D spatial creation, where you can intuitively sketch in 3D cross-reality to AI. 3D create 3D. More than ever, it's an exciting time where one person can build anything. New frontier models just dropped last week that, in my humble opinion, are just as dangerous as the ones that are hyped up to be too scary to be only usable by big corporations and the government. And back to a medium that 5 billion people in the world have access to: phones. In starting the XR Shakespeare Company, I wondered about reach to every human. And thus, XRSC is an AI video app that lets anyone create what looks like AR or XR spatial performance recordings exactly where they are, headset-free, as human as can be.
Frailty, thy name was never woman. Projection, thy name was Hamlet.
All right, so that's Yosin. As I said, it's unfortunate she won't be here. But fortunately, we did have somebody who graciously agreed to fill in for Yosin, Mandy here, Mandy Canales, from Washington State University. She's an assistant professor there in the Department of Digital Technology and Culture at Washington State University. But she also teaches dance, improv, and physical comedy in the Virtual Reality Dance Academy in VRChat. She produced or directed the award-winning production Shadow Canyon. And let me show a quick video of her work. There it is, Mandy. Next up, we have Alex. Alex is the CEO of Agile Lens, an immersive XR design firm in New York City. If you've been around the show floor, you might have seen some of their work on this year being presented at SIGGRAPH. What more do I have to say about Alex? I was first aware of Alex during his presentation of the VR Christmas Carol, which has been a holiday favorite. It ran for the last 5 years, a wonderful experience. Alex is also quite the Unreal guru, so you'll see him at epic events teaching Unreal. Let me show you a quick showcase of the work that Agile Lens does.
I'm not here to decode your secret code, genius.
Let's give everyone a tour of our island.
Everybody notices me.
Audience and vice versa.
It is the East, and Juliet is a star.
Hello. I'm so glad to meet you.
You believe you deserve to be.
Mercy! Dreadful apparition, why do you trouble me?
That's
Very
stage
fun.
presence. Thank you very much.
Very fun.
Thank you, Alex. All right, and last but not least, we have Jason. Jason is the creator of the Meta movie. His first Meta movie presented Alien Rescue was shown at Venice, Rain Dance, and other festivals. He is currently working on his next project, Secrets of Gara, there we go, which should debut sometime next year. Is that correct? All right, so let me give you a preview of his work.
Listen up, I'm only going over this once, so pay attention. This Abanager has the most toxic blood in the galaxy, and these bastards are weaponizing her. We can't let that happen. So we're gonna break in and rescue her.
I'm not getting a good feeling about this.
Who are you?
What the crap?
Any way to get through this? If something happens to one of us, the rest have to keep going.
Very cool. All right. So we don't have too much time for the panel, so we're going to focus our our panel discussion on 3 questions. One about performance, one on the audience, and one on the future. So let's start with a question on performance. Now, each one of you has used a various different platform to stage your performances. Some use some social VR spaces like VRChat, which Steve and Mandy has used. Some use Resonite, which Jason has used. And some have built system using Unreal, which Alex has used. So my question to you is, how does your choice of platform shape the stories you can tell and the approach that you take in telling those stories? Anybody want to jump in?
Hello. Hi, everybody. We use VRChat because it is Unity-based, and our devs work in Unity, and it allows us the freedom that we need to tell the stories that we tell and the way that we tell them. It allows us the most flexibility with avatars. Our avatars need legs, so there's that. And it's also affordable for us because we don't need to pay for, build the infrastructure and maintain it and whatnot.
Thank you. Yeah, I think affordability is a great reason why we use VRChat in the VR Dance Academy. I also teach improv classes. And so that's one piece of it. But because I'm in immersive education, we need spaces where we can be have private moments, right, with our students. So other platforms, other social VR platforms, don't necessarily have the capability of blocking off people from coming into the space. So we're able to have classes, dance classes or improv classes in a regular classroom aesthetic without any kind of random people jumping in. So that has been really helpful. And then also just being able to have a cap on how many people can come into the world during performances. That's been really helpful so that we can kind of maintain the quality.
Hi, everyone. Pardon my voice. I've been event maxing, as the kids say. We do use Unreal Engine, first of all, because it is downstream of a lot of our client work. Most of what AgileLens does is things like luxury real estate. And so we have a very robust pipeline of templates and workflows and infrastructure for multiplayer and using things like metahumans. And so a lot of the R&D that we get our clients to pay for like a giant 4 Seasons project, that ends up downstream and becomes this wonderful theatrical sandbox that we get to play in. And of course, Unreal Engine is incredibly custom. It services a lot of different industries. And so just about anything we can imagine, we try to do, sometimes to our detriment.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jason Moore. Yeah, I think, a lot of us got started experimenting with live theater in VR out of just a sheer curiosity of what could be done, with this material. And so we gravitated towards wherever we could go. I started playing around with this stuff in 2017 in a platform called high-fidelity, which was created by Philip Rosedale. And actually, some of us were there at the same time. When that crashed, I hopped over to another kind of social VR startup, Neos, and built some work there for a while. And then when that crashed, I hopped over to the spiritual successor of Neos, which is Resonite. I think a lot of us are kind of interested in the question of, does the metaverse exist? Will the metaverse exist? And we're kind of hopping around in these little proto-metaverses, kind of just waiting to see where this stuff is going to go. Why I chose Resonite is because Resonite is a game engine first and a social platform second. It's like being able to build inside a Unity application in real time with multiplayers. So a bunch of us can be inside a virtual world, a coder, a world builder, a lighting designer, an avatar designer. We can all be in the same shared virtual space and actually work on the sets in real time together and kind of build from the inside out. So it's a really kind of an addictive workflow to be able to work like that. So I think that's why I chose Resonite. But a lot of us also chose these social VR platforms, as Steve said, because they're accessible and affordable. We don't have to build the infrastructure. But B, we kind of want to be performing to a community. And these social platforms have built-in communities. So it's like we've got our audience right there. I think a lot of us would love to build an app like, like Alex is doing, or like TenderClaws did. But man, that's a big ask for indie dev studios like ourselves. So we're out there in the social VR metaverse, just hoping that our platforms survive another year so that we can keep going.
Thanks, guys. You mentioned audience. Let's get to the audience. In particularly, in your thoughts and in your attendance to your show, who is your audience? Okay, are they gamers? Are they VR enthusiasts? Are they the general public? And regardless of where they're coming from, how do you connect with them before the show starts? And also, how do you connect with them during the show? And I'm gonna put Steve and Mandy on the spot here because they're also, besides directors, they've also performed in VR. How do you connect with the audience when you know the facial features aren't always as high fidelity as you would like?
Who was the first one?
Who's your audience?
Yes, who's our audience? You know, it's an interesting thing. When we do these talks, we talk about the work coming to life at the intersection of theater, motion pictures, and video games. So we pull from all three of those modalities, and there's a lot of education that needs to happen. We need to teach people that it exists, which is one of the reasons why we're here. And in certain ways, because it's newer, it's one of the newer forms of storytelling, and we have to cultivate a new audience, I think, is what we're kind of doing in a way. Our audience particularly is not VRChat enthusiasts. We do have people that participate in VRChat quite a bit, but by and large, our audience is kind of comprised of theater people, some tech people, and people in the entertainment business is kind of what, we don't have any hard statistics about where they're coming from. We're trying to get more of that information, but they kind of come from everywhere, really. There's an organization that happens, a thing that happens every year in VRChat called PJKT, Project Community. And so we have a little booth in there. They have 3 VR worlds just full of these little booths of these VR communities in VRChat that do everything. They build and sell avatars and digital assets. They are communities of people that role players and theater people that get together. So we're spending more time in there. We have a little booth in there, and we go hang out. And we take people on, do little demo performances for them too, because we're trying to showcase our work to the VRChat crowds to get more of them interested in what we're doing. And they're pretty surprised when we take them through a performance. They go, geez, we didn't even know that this could be happening in here. So I'm sorry, what was the other? I think that was probably about it. Connect. How do we connect with people? Well, we use, we use forms of puppeteering and mask work, and we have to trade certain things from when we bring this work from the physical world into the digital world. So body gestures are really important, and the mask work, and then also voice, you know, we use our voices quite a bit, almost like voice actors and artists use as well. So we pull from all of that.
Yeah, so for the VR Dance Academy, the majority of students are VR natives. They're in virtual space all the time. A lot of times they've just gotten full body tracking and they want to know what else they can do with it. And because we're on social media a lot, people say, oh, I saw you dancing on TikTok or on Instagram and I want to join. So a lot of the folks that come through and who stick around are just in VRChat all the time. Virtual citizens, basically. But it doesn't mean that people who aren't virtual citizens aren't welcome. We welcome everybody. We actually have a lot of new people who have just got a headset and they're like, I heard about you. And we're always welcome. We're always inclusive of everybody. You don't have to have full body tracking. And that's one of the ways that we engage with our students is that we're incredibly inclusive. Anybody can show up. Anybody can take a dance class with us. And we also make sure that as educators, we are over-communicating. This is what I've noticed. Even though as a professor and any other teachers out there know, you'll be repeating yourself a lot during classes. But within VR, I am repeating myself even more. And I've just taken the time to understand that there are different ways of approaching education in a VR setting versus in a classroom setting. And I've found that the interaction with my students has become a lot more positive now that I've employed a lot of those tactics. So just being open-minded about what translates in a classroom in a physical space isn't exactly what's going to translate in a virtual space, and just being okay with that and being really open to learning new things that the VR community needs from me as a teacher. I found that to be the most positive way to interact with our students. And then also understanding that a lot of these folks who take classes with us, either with dance or in the improv community, it's their first time doing these sorts of activities. So extending a lot of empathy, extending a lot of patience is incredibly important to make sure that people are supported.
At AgileLens, we work on a very wide variety of projects, and so this question, I think, comes up a lot of, how do we create something that's going to work well for a lot of different audiences, and then in addition to the audiences, how do we build something that's going to make the next show that we work on as straightforward as possible. And so we have this app, this platform we're developing called Stage Presence, which is intended to be kind of a coalition, that's not a word, of everything that we've learned over the years across all these things. Coalition, you heard it here first, folks. And so, like Stage Presence, we're trying to tailor to a previs workflow, a rehearsal workflow, a performance workflow, mixed reality, virtual reality, and this grew out of a lot of different productions we've been involved with. My colleagues David Gottschfeld and Kevin Leibson, who are here today, they gave a wonderful talk on Sunday at length about the work we did with the Royal Shakespeare Company, which was primarily focused on rehearsal. Christmas Carol has been much more about the performance side, and then over the years we've been involved with things like Kenneth Branagh's production Macbeth at the Park Avenue Armory, and that was much more previs. And so with all that in mind, I think we're trying to make sure that on the audience side, there's a lot of different ways to experience a show. When we first started working on Christmas Carol in 2021, I think we're leaning towards something that felt a little more immersive theater, where you'd be moving around a bunch and there'd be lots of interactivity. But because we don't have the built-in audience of something like VRChat, we found that a lot of the people coming to the show, including the director, like Robert Barry Fleming of Actors Theater of Louisville, most of our audience was theater first and coming to the tech for the first time. And so we realized that to reach that audience and to make a show comfortable for them, we couldn't force any high degree of interactivity. We basically had to make sure that a valid way to experience the show would be, you pop on the headset, you open up the app, maybe you never even pick up the controllers, and you can treat this like a passive, traditional proscenium theater experience where you're going to have a compelling live experience, basically as though you're seated in row Q, C13 of a regular show. But we want to make sure that anyone who does want to fly around and scale the world up and down and get really engaged with the show has that opportunity as well. So that's been a big part of what we do, and we're continuing to evolve that and find new ways to do that workflow. Last thing I'll mention is on the performer side, when Ari Tar first started performing as Scrooge and Dickens, we had very high fidelity facial capture and that sort of thing from Unreal Engine, which was great, but he couldn't connect with the audience. And so a really important thing to us became getting into the headset, getting full facial capture through things like MetaQuest Pro, and making sure that things like eye contact between performers and audience and performers and other performers could really work out well, which of course, everyone here has been doing from the start. We were putting a little more preference at first on trying to get as much high fidelity body and facial capture as possible, but eventually came to a place where we're doing something much closer to everyone else here and maximizing the connection between everyone inside that virtual world together. You have a mic.
Okay, I think, audience-wise, you guys are all here because you are interested in VR and you're interested in storytelling. There's a lot of people out there who really like this stuff, and they really are coming from all over the place, whether it's theater or a gamer or a tech enthusiast. And so I think there's a potential for a massive amount of people to kind of engage with the work that we're doing. Right now, because it's so new, we're mostly seeing kind of cutting edge VR enthusiasts who are willing to kind of put up with the hassles of, getting in a headset, navigating through the metaverse to kind of find our spots. At the Meta Movie, we really lean into role playing at the work that we do with Alien Rescue and Secrets of Gara. So we get a lot of people who are interested in Dungeons and Dragons or the role play community, whether it's LARPing in real life or role playing in VR. We get a lot of those. Our work is also, we're only PC VR. That's the type of VR that has to be connected to a computer. So that kind of narrows down the audiences for us. So I like to say, if you bought and played Half-Life Alyx, you're our target audience for something like the Meta Movie. We generally get pretty hardcore enthusiasts who have PC VR, who are not afraid of spending 2 hours in VR. But I think that's the cool thing about this type of work is that it crosses so many different areas: role-playing, video games, cinematic storytelling, live theater. So I think the potential, at least, is out there. We're just kind of looking around to try to grow that audience. One thing that I want to touch on is you mentioned kind of how do we engage with the audience in terms of outside the show. This is something that's uniquely difficult for those of us in the space, because if you go to the movies or you go to the theater in real life, you know how to do that already. You know how to get a ticket. You know how to get to the theater. You know how to find your seat. You know that when the lights go down, you're supposed to be quiet. Well, those rules don't really translate all that well into VR. So we have to do a lot of work in terms of technical onboarding and hand-holding and training and teaching just to get you in the seat. And I think we all fantasize about the day when we can put more emphasis on the experience itself and less on all of that troublesome onboarding. But I will say that for those who take the time to jump through all those hoops, they all tell us almost uniformly, "Oh my God, that was freaking cool." So if anybody out there is kind of on the fence about, should I try this out? Yes, try it. Trust me, you'll like it. We have a good time in our shows, right? And last thing, in terms of connecting with audiences, everybody kind of said a lot of it already. We've experimented with facial tracking and full body tracking and eye tracking and every kind of tracking you can possibly think of. I think eye tracking is probably, for me, pound for pound, the most effective way to really have an intimate moment. An actor with eye tracking and an audience member who has eye tracking, you're both looking at each other and you can see the little micro movements of the eyes or the blink or the way the eyes turn off. You can have a really powerful emotional moment in VR, even though you're kind of wearing these avatars with that one little piece of tech. So for me, that's been kind of the game changer.
You're the only one that has issues with onboarding, Jason. Smooth sailing for us. We don't even have eyes on some of our characters. I just wanted to mention, too, I forgot to mention that the world of academia has shown particular interest in this kind of work. So we do lots of speaking with professors and universities. A fair amount of researchers come through our shows and write about the work as well, because there's a lot of new information to mine and how sociologically, how it's affecting us psychologically as well. So.
Thank you for that. All right, last question. The future. All right, so all of your work has been shown at various festivals. There's a circuit now for this kind of work. One of your shows has been Emmy nominated. Did I say Emmy nominated? So clearly this kind of entertainment is getting some traction. Where do you see it going? And more importantly, where would you like to take it within your own given platforms?
Yeah, sure. I think, like I said, people who come to these shows uniformly express delight at this new form of medium. It's got all the magic of immersive VR. It's got all the personality and warmth of a live performance. In our cases, we give you lots of agency, so you feel like you kind of have control over the story. There's certainly potential for this. We all know that, and we kind of bang our heads against the wall when we think about scaling and kind of how to grow our stuff. That's a big hurdle for us is, how do we get more people in? How do we keep our work sustainable? So I think we're always, thinking and working towards something like that. In terms of my own work, I just measure my success by what I've learned from the last thing. So I just keep, I've got a long list of research questions that I'm trying to address in every show. And when that cycle and that run of the show is over, I can look back and think like, what did I learn here? Where did I grow personally? So for me, the future is all about just, setting up a new list of questions about what can be done, what should be done, what works, what doesn't work, and then just knocking those down. I also wouldn't mind getting an Emmy. So yeah, that's on my radar too. But yeah, I think the future is bright. I'm really proud to be around people who are kind of trying to build this together. It takes a lot of work, and honestly, we need support. So again, come see our work. The ferrymen are right down there. That's how we're going to grow this industry, is if we can get out here on these panels and kind of share our love and convince you guys to come out and see the show.
Let's go this way. For me, I love being with people in person. Which is why I've been talking too much for 5 days. And so for me, I'm really excited about some of the potential that's emerging with mixed reality. We've had a few mixed reality shows so far, and being able to have an in-person audience who gets to have the value add of an augmented environment in front of them can be really tremendous. And we still love the virtual reality work we're doing, so we'd love eventually to combine all of that and be able to have these experiences where you still bring people to a particular venue, they all get to experience the show together, they get to watch all these magical things happening right in front of them, co-located in a shared experience. Best recent example of that we did is called Your Mind Girls with Hope Hutman, with one actor and a ton of other stuff going on. But we're tremendously excited about the potential of bringing in a virtual audience to that live show as well. We did a little bit of that with Mikhail Baryshnikov and Jessica Hecht in the Orchard Off-Broadway, but most of the audience there didn't get to be inside of a headset, so it was more about the augmented layer. So just basically trying to take all these little branches of different wonderful little seeds of things we've enjoyed from previous shows and creating one super show, and then maybe we can get nominated for something exciting. Even a Razzie would be cool. Imagine a VR show getting nominated for a Razzie, just that level of attention. Fantastic. Yeah.
In the future, let's see, I come from a popular theater background, so I've always loved improv, I've loved street theater, I've loved anything that's accessible for people. And being a part of the VR education world has been a really unexpected moment, because I started off wanting to just do theater, and then I found teaching. And in the future, I hope that everybody who wants to learn dance, who wants to learn improv, can just put on a headset and come to our dance academy, or maybe another dance academy or another improv group, and learn. Because that's been the most amazing thing about working in VR education, is finding people who do not have access to this education, to arts education, and being able to teach them. So in the future, I hope that we have more immersive VR education.
I think, like Jason mentioned, we keep iterating. We keep trying to make different mistakes next time from the previous ones. So we're just always trying to streamline the process of onboarding, offboarding. We build our shows so that the actors are their own stage managers. So we're always trying to find new ways of making the hard stuff easier, for sure. But I think that as upload, download speeds and the technology changes, it's going to allow us to create bigger shows, be able to build shows that include more audience members, things like that I can see in the future. One of the things that we're very excited about doing is Uncanny Alley: A New Day is a collaboration between our company, Ferryman Collective, and an exceedingly talented world builder and game maker named Rick Treeweek, who goes by the name of Meta Rick, who hails from South Africa. And it's his IP that we brought to life through the live theatrical experience. And so what we're doing now is we're thinking about how do we monetize, how do we distribute the material in different ways. So we're starting to do some experimenting with the Emmy-winning Matt Celia at Light Sail VR, who knows the 360 world very well. We've gotten into the world, and we're experimenting now with reimagining the shows as pre-recorded, chaptered 360 recordings, for archival purposes, because that comes up a lot more now. We're all dealing with, we're creating with binary numbers here, and it goes away. These platforms go away, and so it's important for us to be able to archive the work, but then also we can package it up, we can put it in an app, make it accessible for people in a headset. The really cool, exciting thing is that we have done some tests now where we're streaming into a dome environment. And so now we can, what we would like to do is pre-record these shows so that we could stream them into a dome environment, but then also we've been experimenting with streaming a live performance into a dome so that we could have an audience in the seated in the dome. And now we can do VRChat on phones. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we couldn't have a seated audience that participates on a minimal level, but then also have the actors in VR and then other participants that we could stream into a dome. So, we're trying to do stuff.
Cool. Thank you, everybody. Questions from the audience? Anybody have any questions for our panelists? Do I see anybody out there? Oh, I don't see anybody. Yeah, wait, there's one over here. Right?
A brave soul.
Okay, so I'm gonna date myself, and I still love Second Life. And it was what you mentioned earlier of being in that same environment, being able to build together, see everything live, be able to collaborate right in the same space. And I mean, they were doing that like 20 years ago. So what in your current platforms are you lacking?
Nothing really in Resonite. Honestly, like the motto in Resonite is if you can imagine it, you can build it. And one of the problems we have building out our experiences is that we can come up with like 10 different great ideas and they're all freaking doable. And it's like, then we just have to decide, like, all right, well, which ones do we have time to make? So I do not feel like limited really in any way by Resonite, except for the fact that it's only PC VR and doesn't have a Quest build. That's something that is a bummer for me, for all the obvious reasons. But I feel very lucky to be able to build in a kind of a 20-year later version of Second Life. Yeah.
I was really happy with some of the progress we've made over the years with Unreal Engine. We started entirely PC VR. We continued to add new features, expanded the ability for the audience to get larger. Recently, we also found a way to record an entire show. We were talking about archiving earlier. So we have all these wonderful productions of Christmas Carol from 2025 now that we can just hit play, and everything the actors were doing, everything the audience was doing, it's all playing back inside the virtual world. So that's great. Unreal Engine, of course, is kind of a heavy engine and isn't always the most accessible in the world. And so both for future collaborators we want to work with and to grow the audience, we're doing a lot to streamline the show creation process, but also on the audience side, we just started to experiment with WebXR and WebGPU and basically porting the entire Unreal Engine experience to a simple browser link that anyone can go to view the experience on their phone, view it in WebXR from a browser, and just kind of maximize all the different ways that people can access the live show, and that's going to be great.
We need more dance teachers. Really, we do need more dance teachers. We have great teachers, and our founder, Dust Bunny, is an amazing teacher, and she takes as many classes as she can, and the rest of us fill in when we can, but we do need more dance teachers, and we need more experts within the field to come in and see this as a legitimate approach to education. So technically, I'm sure there are a lot of things that we are missing, but right now I think it would be great if we could get a few dance teachers. So anybody out there, come talk to me afterwards, because your expertise is absolutely needed, and it would be 100% appreciated.
I'm kind of like Jason. We're not lacking much of anything. Unity allows our devs to really flex their muscles and bring all of our ideas to life, pretty much. And thank you for reminding me, Jason. The other reason why we use VRChat is because a fair amount of our audiences do come in on Quest. That's really what we build for. However, we do have two iterations of the world that you can join our shows via PCVR or Quest. And they look pretty close to the same. We're getting pretty good at optimizing, so it all looks and works pretty good. But I don't know, I guess I would say that what we would really like is our own platform, so that we could make the changes and updates that we need instead of adapt to another company's changes. That's kind of the real issue for us. We started, it was our goal to do onboarding in each show the way that, and it's important, one of the important things about onboarding for us is to put our audience in the mindset, get them thinking and feeling the way for the particular show that they're going to go through. And we have many shows now, or a handful of them, so it's not practical to do onboarding in each world now, because VRChat makes their updates when they do, and so for our menus and all the things that we have to deal with, it changes. And I got to tell you, our Screaming Color, our magic maker that does all those updates, he's like, man, I can't do all these updates for every single world. So we have one persistent Ferryman Collective world now, which showcases kind of our work, but then also acts as our onboarding world, where he only needs to change at one time. So I would say for us, that's probably the one thing.
Well, thank you, everyone. I think our time is just about up. So let's thank our esteemed panelists here. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Jeff. I just got to say thank you for being up here, you guys, with me. These guys are such an inspiration to us. It really is fantastic to be here in our meat suits, as we call it, and we're inspired by you guys all the time. So thank you.
And don't forget to check out Uncanny Valley right down the hall there. So thanks, everyone.